hospitals with some investigation with using her official position to benefit herself and her family financially. She has literally admitted to county detectives that she stole the coins out of parking kiosks in Upper Darby Township. This is a sad day, of course, for the people of Upper Darby, but let me just explain a little bit about the charges and the background on how this came about. So Upper Darby, as many people here I think know, is the 6th largest municipality in Pennsylvania. The parking department has over 1,300 parking meters and I think 8 lots as well. So it's a big department. The revenue that comes in both from the enforcement side and from the parking side for people who violate and people who don't violate is about $1 million a year. So this is a big operation. Sekela Coles was appointed in January of 2022, January of 2020, when the Keffer administration first took office. She had been an Upper Darby Township council person, and now she was put in charge of the parking department. During her tenure, in November of 2021, she implemented a new parking system using kiosks. So there was the traditional parking meters that you still see in Upper Darby Township, and then there's a growing fleet of these kiosks that are used for a variety of spaces, not just one. The thefts that we're talking about today and that she is charged with, the 4 counts, come from the new kiosks. Almost from the moment they were implemented in November of 2021, she began a scheme to steal the coins in those machines. She used her assistant, a woman named Nikita Barnes. Nikita was told to take the coins that come in from the kiosks, to take them in bank bags to her own personal car, to drive them to her own personal bank, to use the coin counter there to count the coins, to then deposit the money in Miss Barnes' own personal bank account, and then bring the cash back to Sekela Coles. Sekela would then count the money out, and it would be used for her own personal benefit and the benefit of the employees of the office, for gifts, for parties, for free lunches, for all those kind of things. She gave a statement. Both Nikita Barnes, who was a cooperating witness in this case, and Sekela Cole were questioned by county detectives. Sekela Cole, at her own suggestion, wanted to give a statement to county detectives. She said at that time she admitted to having implemented the scheme, and she also admitted that at some point she realized they were taking too much money. It was going to potentially be discovered by the people in the tax office, so she had Miss Barnes begin to repay some of the money to sort of cover up the crime that was being committed. She's also charged in this complaint with obstruction of justice because she went in as parking director, went into the system and deleted 8 tickets for family members, so they were not paid monies that were owed to the township for violation of the parking ordinances. And then there was also a charge, and it is a charge of official oppression, which relates to how they treated rental cars in Upper Darby Township. They were charged a fee of $98 when the highest parking fee that you can accrue is $35, and then they were told to just pass that on to the person who rented the car. Can't really explain why that happened, but it's part of what we found out through the course of this investigation. Now, as some of you know, this investigation really began in large part because people in Upper Darby Township, in the court system in particular, in the fall of last year began to reach out to people like me saying we haven't gotten any parking tickets sent to us through the AOPC, the Administrative Office of Pennsylvania Courts, for people who violate Upper Darby's parking ordinances. Some great investigative work by Joe Holden from Channel 3 put this story on air. That led to Township Council in Upper Darby calling for an investigation. They hired an auditor, a woman named Donna Stillwell from Brinker Simpson, who has been acting as the financial director of the township. She conducted an audit which concluded that over 18,000 parking tickets were never sent as they properly should have been sent to the Office of Administrative Courts in Harrisburg, who then would have docketed those tickets to the Upper Darby local magistrate court. This incompetency is what led to this investigation, which we then turned into a criminal investigation on our part. So I want to thank Brinker Simpson, Donna Stillwell for the great work she did. Obviously, Mr. Holden, the great investigative work you did played a role in this as well. But I also want to credit our county detectives, and particularly Mr. Rhodes, for picking up what is a difficult white-collar investigation that it's led to today, where we're able to hold Ms. Sekela Coles accountable for literally stealing monies from parking kiosks. At this point, can take any questions you guys have?
So Jack, it would work with the kiosk. It started with the kiosk. How did she contain the scheme? How did she keep it under wraps? Is her subordinate facing possible charges as well?
Yeah, so first of all, her subordinate is not. She's a cooperating witness who helped us uncover the whole scheme. So we're not charging her in the scheme because we're obviously going after the public official who abused her authority. She was told to do this and she did it. But my understanding, Joe, so there's the meters and then there's these new kiosks. The meters, it's almost tamper-proof. They come out with carts that have vacuum-like devices attached to them, so when they open the meter, the money automatically goes into the cart. The cart is then brought back to the parking enforcement office. There's a coin counter right there in the parking enforcement office. It's counted in front of the staff. It is put into these sealed Dunbar bank bags. Then the Brinks security service comes and picks those up. Almost impossible for that process to go wrong. The kiosks were different. To open the kiosk, you had to dump the coins and whatever cash there could be into a Dunbar bag and bring it back to the office. What Director Coles did was she told staff to send those bags not through the coin counting system in the office and not have that then reported to the tax office, but to give them to Miss Barnes. And then she directed Miss Barnes to take that to her personal bank, have it counted there, converted into cash, and then brought back for Miss Coles' use.
How much did she take in the end, do you think?
It's a great question, Jeff. So, and this is interesting, it's over $4,400, but then, hold on, what happened is, at some point, the money started to as more kiosks came online, Miss Coles got nervous that they was going to be detected. So she started telling Miss Barnes to repay, to send smaller amounts back to the tax office, which brought that number down to about $2,000. We call that in prosecution speak consciousness of guilt. She knew what she was doing was wrong. She was afraid that this scheme was going to be discovered. So she had her associate, she directed her to repay some of those funds.
Your investigation has shown some of what we uncovered ourselves about the tickets bypassing local courts. While that might not be at issue in the complaint today, what is your office's overall observation of the Upper Darby Parking Enforcement Office?
Yeah, great question. So let me just first explain to everybody who doesn't know what I think you already know, Joe, which is that the way this works is under Pennsylvania law, the Upper Darby Parking Authority gets to issue tickets, but it can't be the judge, jury, and executioner. So if somebody wants to contest their ticket or doesn't pay it within a certain block of time, those tickets have to be turned over to local magistrate courts, who then you have your full panoply of due process because they are treated as summary appeals, as summary cases, and somebody can actually be held criminally liable for a small, penalty if they accrue parking tickets and don't pay them. What was supposed to happen, is our understanding is, there is a system in place with the AOPC, that's the Administrative Office of Pennsylvania Courts. Every parking authority for every borough and municipality in Pennsylvania has to send a certified copy of those files, of those parking violations, to AOPC in Harrisburg, who then send them to the district courts. That's their responsibility. And there's a timing issue here as well, because you have to, the township has 30 days to prosecute that parking violation. So what Ms. Stillwell was able to determine in her audit is from April of 2021 until February of 2023, the Upper Darby Township Parking Enforcement Authority failed to send a single one of those tickets. About 18,000 is the number we're hearing from AOPC. It's a series of just complete and utter incompetency that you can see from reading the audit report Ms. Stillwell has already made publicly available. There are IT issues, there's lack of oversight, all of those things happened. And the township knows that these happened, and yet Ms. Coles was still the director of parking until this morning.
So some of those folks would have paid those tickets. They would have paid the fine. Others, though, if they wanted to appeal, would not have been able to because
Correct.
they never got to the court.
Correct. So if you paid it when you first got it, it didn't really affect you, right? You paid your parking and,
Right.
and that went on. If you wanted to contest it, or you just wanted your simple due process rights for whatever reason, you never got anything in the mail. So those 18,000, which is the estimated number, have been hanging in limbo. The administration, after Mr. Holden's report and after Township Council decided to issue the audit, rushed to try to get all of those backdated files sent to AOPC. My estimation is that they're all worthless. They have 30 days to prosecute somebody, so if that 30-day period is over, I don't know what the sense is of sending those up there.
So if you happen not to pay your ticket because you thought you were going to push it, you're not paying it now.
You got out. And the implication for Upper Darby residents is, again, Jeff, we're talking about $1 million line item. So the out years, there is going to be a revenue loss to the people of Upper Darby because people who violated the parking ordinance in Upper Darby have gotten away scot-free because the administration was unable for almost 2 years to send computer files to AOPC in Harrisburg.
And is there any kind of pending criminal investigation on that end, or is that just sort of it happened?
We look at it, Alex, and if new facts arise, we'll certainly look at it. But, when this first came to my attention, I talked to the local court officials about it. I said, there's no criminality here. Incompetence itself is not criminal. There's no further thing for us to do or even for us to have investigated at that point. It was really when the audit began that was ordered by Township Council that we'd be able to uncover some facts that were shared with CID that allowed us to get a criminal probe going.
Jack, did you say she's still working there?
My understanding as of this morning, she's still the director of parking enforcement, even though they have an audit from March of this year saying that she had failed to do her job for 2 years and send these parking tickets to Harrisburg to be docketed in the local courts.
She's been placed on administrative leave, according to the mayor's office.
As of
Today.
nice, that's good. It's probably a thoughtful thing for them to be doing.
She wasn't just the parking director. She had been working in the township for years prior to that. What is your message for the people in Upper Darby? You called it a politician corruption case. How do you ensure this doesn't happen again?
That's a great question. First, I want to thank the members of Township Council in Upper Darby who have brought this to our attention, and the majority on that council board. It's a bipartisan coalition of Democrats and Republicans who came together about 1.5 years ago because they were concerned with some of the financial dealings of the administration. So they've been asking questions, and they've been taking a lot of flack, politics being what it is today, and you can understand why. But that is the first line of defense. As we all learned, I think, in the 3rd grade, our system is built for checks and balances. So the members of Township Council, part of their responsibility to the people who elected them is to hold the administration accountable for everything, and not just to be a rubber stamp or flackies and political attack dogs. Okay, so that's step one. Step two is really also great local journalism. I want to give Joe Holden the proper due. I mean, that story really began to change some people's opinions inside township government that somebody was really watching.
You said she made admissions. Can you explain what she admitted to exactly?
Sure. She actually admitted to the whole scheme. She came in, offered herself to our county detectives when they were in the office interviewing Miss Barnes, and she admitted after a little hesitation that she did direct Miss Barnes to take these monies, to put them into her bank account and bring the cash back for her, and that they were going to use it as a slush fund for parties and gifts and all that kind of stuff that they could live off of.
So they actually used it as a slush fund internally for some employees of the office?
Yeah, there was parties, there was free lunches, there was gifts, all those kind of things. What else we don't know she could have used the money for, but those are the things that we were able to find out from interviews.
And the tickets that she let go, what was that about? Did she make money off of that? Or?
They were her family members. They were, I think, her children.
A child and her now ex-husband.
Her child and her ex-husband had gotten parking tickets in Upper Darby. She abused her authority by going into the system and deleting their tickets so they didn't have to pay them.
Jack, in February, the mayor told us that she was doing a pretty good job.
I think she hopefully would have a different opinion today.
What is she facing?
Well, these are felony counts, so, you know, Linda, a lot of it is depending upon previous criminal history and all of that stuff. I can't tell you when she gets before a judge what the ultimate, you know, sentence is going to be. But at this point, she's facing felony counts, which are serious crimes.
Has she been picked up or come into the police station yet? And I also saw this was filed in Bethel, and I just didn't know if that was just the judge was on today or if that's where.
Yeah, I think that was the judge who was on today, signed it. She is making arrangements. Doug has been in contact with her and her attorney to make her arrangements for her to surrender herself by close of business today.
And who's the attorney? Do you know?
Yeah, at this time, an attorney has not yet entered his appearance. She has made a representation that she will get counsel and surrender herself by close of business today.
And she'll do that here? You'd expect her to do it here, or would she do it?
We do expect her
Yes.
to do that here.
This is the agency that is charging her.
How old is she?
I think 45, if my math is good.
I don't want to ask you to repeat yourself, but I apologize. I got
Sure.
here.
I'm sorry about that, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. If you could just hit me with the bullet points.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm the District Attorney of Delaware County, and I'm here today because we have charged and arrested and charged Sekela Coles, the Upper Darby Township Parking Director, with political corruption. She is charged with counts of theft, obstruction of justice, and official oppression. She has used her authority to benefit financially herself and her family. She has deleted tickets for family members, and she has also used her authority to steal the coins out of parking kiosks, which she has admitted to our county detectives.
Thank you.
Anything else, or are you guys good to go?
So there were 1,300 parking meters in Upper Darby. How many of those kiosks are there?
I think
Approximately 12 at this time.
Oh, just 12?
Yes, about 12 at this time.
they were just starting to come online in November of 2021. They also have parking lots, so I think eventually the idea, what I've read publicly, was to get rid of the meters over time because they're aging out. Everywhere you go now, you see these parking kiosks, right? Which don't help old guys like me who are trying to just put coins in a machine.
And when did the scheme end?
Well, I think really it ended when attention was focused. In January of 2023 is when Mr. Holden's investigative story ran, and then council took action in February of 2023, and at that point, Ms. Coles realized she had to stop taking the coins, and stealing.
Did she figure she could get the coins before she put in the kiosks? So after the kiosks are in, she figures, hey, we got some free change here, I might be able to do this.
I just think because you can tamper with them, right? You really couldn't tamper with the monies that the meter technicians were taking out of the meters because of the cart and the vacuum that literally takes it right out, and you bring the cart in, and that's a lot of money. But these new kiosks didn't have that same collection system. And so you had to go out there, and the meter technicians had to open up and then put them in bags. And so when they're coming back with bags, and there's a lot less money in them, Jeff, than there is in the carts, right? That's when I think the light bulb went off and said,
So once she saw how it worked,
We-
she apparently saw an opening.
we see the first theft in December of 2021. So the kiosks were operational, my understanding is November of 2021. So literally within days or weeks, she started figuring out how to enrich herself at the benefit of or at the, from the people expense. Thank you, Alex.
How many people are in this office? Do you know, a dozen or half dozen?
Do you have any sense?
It's approximately 10 employees.
I would say approximately 10 employees.
So how, I'm just curious if this underling is just carrying these bags past the coin sorter that's already in the office, as you said. Is nobody sort of raising flags or alarm bells?
Well, they did once they realized attention was being paid, right? And I think once the parking authority came under the microscope, both of the local media and then of the auditor, that's when you began to see behavior change and people were willing then to come forward. And of course, these guys did such a great job. They went back, they got search warrants, they got bank accounts for Barnes. They actually have video of Mr. Barnes, Nikita's husband, because at one point the $2,000 bag was too heavy for her to carry, so she had to take it. He had to take it in with her. So at that point, that's when the scheme really started to get out of hand, and that's when Ms. Coles, Director Coles, started saying we've got to start repaying some of this money, sending it up so the tax office doesn't get any ideas that these larger numbers are missing.
I'm sorry, the bag was too heavy for her, so she had her husband carry the bag?
The $2,000 bag got to be, yeah, that's a lot of coins. I mean, think about it. Think about $2,000 worth of quarters. Yeah.
What date did the criminal investigation begin?
I don't know. I mean, we started really, in January and February, I believe, is around the time frame when all of this stuff really became known to the public. Again, I was told early on in July, actually a year ago this time, Director Coles came to see me with a consultant because they were talking about decriminalizing parking. That never went anywhere. And then I got outreach from people at the local district courts who were saying, this is the fall of last year, that we're not seeing any of these tickets show up, something must be wrong. And again, we couldn't find any criminality to investigate. It was really when the audit was called for by Township Council that we were able to get some real footwork going.
To your knowledge, is Upper Darby doing better with parking tickets? Are they actually going to the people now that they should be going out to, or are we still in this kind of...
Don't really know, Alex. We're not in the parking business, unfortunately. Yeah. The only reason we are involved in this at all is because we started coming to believe that money was missing. We don't have any... The DA's office doesn't enforce the parking laws of a township. That's really the local township solicitor, boroughs, all that stuff. So it's only when credible allegations were being made that money might be missing that we stepped in. And I can't tell you anything more about how parking is done now. Okay, I think we've probably exhausted every one of you and your questions. Thanks for all coming down. We appreciate it.
You guys have an affidavit, Jack?
I sent
Yes.
it to you, Joe.
Thanks.